We're very excited to be here. We're going to talk today about creating customer-first transformative experiences. What a tough act to follow. Talking about the great Content Square suite. Today, we want to talk about creating the culture of using that data to create customer-based experiences. And I've had the joy to talk to a lot of customers about their own organizations, about their own governance, about their own systems, and how they build and create organizations from the ground up to create a culture or a center of excellence for experimentation. And I've even had the joy to talk with Alyssa about your practice and about how you build that within your organization too. So I'd like to give you the table to share with me what you kind of shared now with everybody else. What's your philosophy on building a good culture of experimentation, data-driven testing within your own organization?
Yes, I love that. Thank you, Jeff. So I'm Alyssa. I was at Microsoft for 15 years in many different areas. So I worked in education, in retail, in AI chatbots, AI for retail, and now I'm at Moderna working on how we can give the best experience to patients and healthcare providers worldwide. And one of the things I noticed across all of the different areas and all of the different industries is we're all really trying to do the same thing, right? We're all trying to really build those unforgettable, truly amazing experiences that really matter for our business and customer. So I'm going to walk you through a framework that I use that's been helpful for me and that hopefully will then be helpful for you. So we'll break it down. So first, let's start with engage. So this might seem easy, but it's actually, I found, really hard for people to do. So as a product manager, I believe that what I own is who is the customer and what are the business problems we're trying to solve. So engage is really where you define that. So what are the problems? What are the priorities? What are the key metrics that we really want to track? Who is that target customer? And really answering those questions helps set the stage for the next set of the cycle. So now that we know kind of what we're trying to do, let's take a look at the next step. So analyze. So this is where we use all of the signals that we have, looking at different types of data to really understand what's really happening. And there's lots of different types out there. So for me, I always like to start with the quantitative data. So these are the things like visitors, total visits, bounce rate, pathing, to really get that numerical picture of what's happening. And then if you have access to qualitative data, that's wonderful. If you can get survey feedback, even talk to customer support or text chat to understand what are the types of questions that your customers are asking and things that they're looking for. And then always great if you have it to understand like the demographics or the target persona of what you're looking for. Are these moms? Are these people over 65? Whatever it is that you're looking for, and what kind of empathy do we need to have as product managers to help design excellent experiences for them. And then my absolute favorite type of data to use is usage and interaction. So this really shows you visually what people are doing on your sites. So this could be heat maps, click maps, session replay. What is a real customer experiencing when they go through your site? So then, after we know and we have the analytics, flip back one, Jeff. Whoop, thank you. To experimentation. So this one is really one of my favorites because this lets us quickly validate the assumptions that we're making to ensure we're using our resources that are always so limited, right? We're always fighting for design and engineering resources on the experiences that really, really matter. So this reduces risks, helps us prioritize what we're doing, and of course, this never happens at your companies, but I've definitely been in scenarios where we're making decisions by someone saying, oh, I like, or, oh, well, this VP likes this, so this is what we should do. And so by being able to experiment, you're able to really combat that type of thinking and really drive the experiences that matter for customers that are actually validated. So really important. And then finally, this enables you to build with confidence. So every product manager and engineering manager's favorite thing, right? Now we know we can put our resources where they matter, like on the features that have actually delivered impact, and it helps us with a prioritized backlog, helps us make sure we're focusing resources where they really, really matter. So following this cycle, I think, is a really good way to help make sure that you're engaging on the things that really, really matter, the priorities for the business and the customer. You're going deep and really showing like customer empathy and being strategic on how you're understanding their journey and their experience, and then experimenting to validate, and then ultimately building with confidence. So I think that's a pretty good model.
So we talk a lot about culture and organization, and you shared a lot about me with your organization. And one of my favorite organizational challenges is the concept of HIPPO, or the highest person paid in the room.
Yeah.
Can you tell
Yeah.
me a little bit about, especially these 4 steps, coaching or teaching up? Like, what's the hardest stage in your process to almost train the trainer or teach the teacher to buy in?
Yes, I think we've all experienced that, where we are showing different designs and you always hear, oh, I like this one, or I like that one, or this, VP likes this, or this is kind of the style that they like. And what really helps me bring the conversation back to what matters is talking about what are those critical KPIs? Like, what are we trying to solve? Are we trying to drive clicks, conversion? What is the goal? And then let's use experimentation to really validate what drives that KPI. So it's awesome that you like that version, but that might not be the one that actually drives what we need. So focusing the conversation on what are the key metrics you want to drive, and validating that with actual customers helps in a nice way say, that's awesome, that's the one you like. This is the one that performs best.
I think we'd agree. It's almost the same amount of work to plan the experiment in the organization to get everybody to buy in than it actually is to perform the experiment too. Right?
Absolutely.
Between getting everybody to buy in, and I think you shared that data-driven decisions, they don't really have opinions, right? They're
Right.
data-driven. We do the best thing for our organization and we drive it that way. And with that, we want to share a few examples of some of our favorite experiments today and talk a little bit about the methodology around them. So I have the joy to share, I think, some of my kind of favorite case studies that I've come around, one of which is clicking a button properly.
Oh, we're frozen.
I
We're
know.
frozen in time.
Here we go.
There we
Let's
go.
look at some examples. All right. My first one, and I love to share this example, was an example out of Obama's 2008 campaign with the goal of trying to drive more signups. And from an organizational perspective, there was a simple problem. We have a lot of creative, and we have a lot of different ways that we can go to the market. But we have to separate our opinions from things that work, right? 6 different banners put out to the market with one goal being which one drives the most performance. And I'm sure you can all look up on here and pick which one you think is the winner, right? You probably have the one that you like the most, or the one that's more appealing, and the one that looks the best. But the truth is, one performed the best, and that's all that matters, right? For this organization, they made data-driven decisions first. And they took emotion out of it, and they went with data. And so to that, I'd like to ask, how does your organization avoid likeness bias, or getting away from the things that we enjoy the most, or separating yourself from emotion and getting into data-driven decisions?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think it's almost impossible to get away from it altogether, because in every meeting I've been in, everyone always has an opinion and wants to share it. And I think what's important as part of the product manager is just to acknowledge everyone's participation and thank them for that. But then we're focusing it on the KPIs. So although design gave us all these beautiful things, our goal is to drive clicks and signups. So which one drove the most clicks and signups? This one. So it might be wonderful that you like this beautiful video, but that's not the one that's the most effective. It's going back to why are we doing this, what are our goals, and letting the customer and the data drive us to the right answer for the customer.
And there's a place for beautiful design. And don't get me wrong, I love design, but I think it's the balance between the things that we love to see and the things that perform the best, right?
Yeah.
Because in the end, we're an experience, right? And so I think it's using that user research. Would you find that oftentimes people look at that data first before they make those decisions? How is your organization looking at it? Are they doing the research first and then analyzing, or?
Yeah, we do a little bit of both. So as part of kind of following that cycle is, what is the main problem we're trying to solve? So for something like this, it might be, we want to drive signups. That's our main KPI. So how can we do that? Well, for this, we just have a main homepage, and we're funneling all of our traffic to this phone page. So what can we do to optimize the space that we have? Well, for this case, it might just be image, and like call to action, button color, things like that. So what are kind of the levers that we can pull and test to really drive that core KPI of driving signups? So I think we try to structure our thinking that way.
Nice. All right, well, let's share some other examples to keep us going. So my next favorite example is Brooks Shoes and talking about balancing return rates. And they did an experiment and changed around their checkout flow based on return rates. And their frustration was about people putting too many sizes in the same basket and then accidentally closing. They were able to, through some basic testing and iteration, reduce return rate by 80%, cause a much better user experience. My question for you is, how often do you find that innovation is driven by, I hate to call it mistakes, but like issues with the organization. I find two ways to approach innovation. One being fix the things that are broken,
Yeah.
and the other being find the things that work the best. What do you think you start with?
Oh, that's such a good question. I think what I think makes the best experiences are helping people do what they already want to do and make it easy and delightful and make them feel good about it. So in this scenario, people are already on the Brooks site trying to buy shoes, but this is now challenging for them, right? We're seeing people add like the same SKU of different sizes, which we've all done. So, I'm adding like a 7 and a 7.5. And now this is causing an issue, right? Because now as the customer, I have to return. You could tell me, no hassle returns, but it's still a pain to go return. This is a hassle for Brooks because now they have to deal with inventory and the restocking. So what are the things that I can do as the product manager for Brooks to make shopping for shoes as easy as possible and delightful? So if what I'm seeing from the analytics is people don't know what size, oh great, let's prompt them with, contact customer support and we can help you find the right size for you. So now we're able to find a delightful experience for customers and help solve the business problem of high returns and stocking rates. So I think it's kind of both, right? Looking at what works and also where there are challenges. And so for this case, Brooks had a lot of challenges with returns. So what are the things that we can do to help alleviate that and really make a great experience for customers trying to buy and find the right size? So I think a little both.
What I love is that you share that data is good about finding signals, right?
Yes.
And those
Yes.
signals evoke feelings and emotions, right? And you said really well earlier where good organizations go past the data point and try to determine the why, right? We
Yes.
got the data on paper, we see what the results is, and then manifesting that into a user experience. Do you feel like good organizations are able to do that? How do you coach that into your own organization?
That's such a good question. I love that. Because I think as a product manager with this problem, right? They were probably posed with we're seeing really high return rates. What should we do? And if the product manager had just stopped there, they would have missed the actual thing that was happening of customers struggling to find the right size. So I think by not going deep into the analytics and really understanding what your customer's doing, having empathy for them, you miss the actual issue that a large amount of the returns were buying two of the same different sizes of the same shoe. So going deep really helps you understand the real challenge your customer is having and how you can help them solve it.
And I think organizations are magnetically drawn to some of the lowest hanging fruit, right?
Yes.
Trying to establish your practice, build it from
Yes.
scratch. I'm sure we all have struggles to do the next best thing. And sometimes it is that kind of lowest hanging fruit, right? Where it is kind of the
Absolutely.
issues that we see. So how do you promote an organization getting past those things and getting onto more innovation and more doing better things with the organization rather than just fixing the things that are wrong?
Oh, that's a great question. So definitely have to fix the things that are wrong. Absolutely. We want to provide best-in-class experiences always. But I guess you have to think about it like every interaction that a customer has with your site, with your app, all plays into how they think about your brand and associate with your brand. So being able to think about kind of the issues that they're having and how we can create even more delightful experiences is critical. So I guess I'd say that.
That's good. All right, that's a nice transition
Okay.
into our next use case, which is about Blue Apron. So Blue Apron was having somewhat of an issue for customer success with their subscription customers and returns and kind of strife with their customers, right? They started sending customers notification about a cutoff window, about when to change my order. And I can tell you, this happens all the time. I get the wrong stuff in my box. I don't want to eat it. I either throw it out or I have to return it. And so just by interacting better with their customers, by sending out that notification, they're able to reduce unexpected order reports by 37%. This was very much changing a product experience by innovating features. And I think we talked about this as well. I heard something great yesterday in a conversation that was e-commerce is going away from selling products and turning into a product itself,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
We're no longer just e-commerce selling SKUs. We're the experience of buying, right? I want to use Blue Apron because I like its experience and do that. Tell me a little bit about how your organization is getting away from selling products and becoming a product experience as a whole.
I love that question. And I think specifically today, as a consumer, you have so many options. There's lots of competitors, there's lots of comparables, there's lots of alternatives. So you have so many options. So really the main differentiator that we can have is what is that experience? How do we make it delightful, easy, memorable? How do we make that whole thing something that you want to continue to do and build that brand loyalty? Because there's a million meal selections I could do. I don't have to stay with Blue Apron. So what are the things Blue Apron can do to make my experience better? Is it sending me reminders? Is it sending me meals I might like? Whatever it is, to build that relationship of helping me do what I want to do in an easy and delightful way.
What was exciting, I think, about this one for me was that Blue Apron is a loyalty program. It's a
Yep.
lifetime customer. It's not a single session customer. So with that,
No.
we're stitching together multiple behaviors that go over time, repeat customers coming back and exploring that again. What's your advice for companies that are trying to differentiate session experience from lifetime experience? Like trying to drive like the whole experience of the customer, especially if we're talking about products as an experience.
Oh my gosh, Jeff, good question. Let's see. I think it's really important. Like I always try to think as a product manager about like my first run experience, like the first time I visit, how do you have like that 5 seconds to wow to really keep me to actually kind of complete what I was on the site to do and then build that longer term relationship with me. So one of the things I try to do for the experiences that I work on is how do I kind of wow you and capture you in 5 seconds? And that can be things like how fast the page loads, like we talk about, what the imagery is like, how big, how fast can I find the information I'm looking for? Is this mobile optimized? Is it accessible? So all of the things that really capture you in that first visit, and then how you continue to delight me, add value to me, and help me stay. Because it would be very easier for me to just open a new tab and search something else and go to a competitor or comparable. So how do you just really keep me delighted and engaged?
Yeah, I think to this day, I think I still talk about my first experience with Blue Apron, how they're so good about that first touch, like you're
Yeah.
saying, and the wow factor and how easy it was to sign up. And you're right, I think if we're talking about products as experiences, the first touch is so important.
Yes.
All right, well, let's get a little practical. And now that we've
Let's.
gone through some experiences and we really want to dive in your methodology, I'm sure everybody would love to buy you a cup of coffee and hear about your methodology.
I would love I love
Can you
coffee.
tell us a little bit about the practical day-to-day of your organization?
Yes. So a lot of the things about that we've talked about may seem like common sense, but it's not always common practice. So I'd love to share some of the things that I've applied and that I've learned in my career that's really helped me get impact, be shown as a thought leader, and really set the model for other people you work with on how to really approach problems like this in a thoughtful, strategic way. So there's like 4 things, but I'm going to focus on the 2 in the box, but I'll just highlight them quickly. So the first one we've talked about is like that genuine customer empathy. So as a product manager, I try to spend at least an hour a week going through all of the different experiences end to end, just like my real customer. So starting at a search engine, searching keywords, where do I end up? What am I trying to do? Where am I dropping? Kind of what's broken, and really understanding that from the customer perspective is just critical. And then, of course, access to the tools. So we all have access to all of these tools, but I'm surprised how few people really go deep into them to understand what's happening. So make sure you're spending the time going through those tools and really understanding what it's like for your customer. Okay, so now the 2 I really want to talk about is how you document your journey and have a process. So let's talk about that. So this always kind of reminds me of like school math, you know, when your teacher's like, show your work. Because a lot of the times, like if I was just like 25, you'd be like, cool, Alyssa. But if I'm able to really walk you through my process of what did I do, what is the problem I'm trying to solve, and visually show that. So I'm a visual person, so I love PowerPoint. So whenever I do one of these kind of problems and walk people through, I walk people through like, buckle up, here's like the experience I went through. Because the more you can bring people along, the more they're invested, the more they understand, the more they ask questions. So I put together a PowerPoint and say, here's the problem I'm trying to solve and why. These are all of the different things I thought through. And then what's so critical is showing the data. So take screenshots of all the analytics tools you use, show the trends you're seeing, what are the assumptions you're making, what signals are you seeing, and really highlight that. And then you can have a really great discussion on what are the ways that we could solve this, and then use experimentation to validate that. So by being able to show your work, you're really setting a model for how you can approach problems like this and how other people can as well. So I really, really encourage you to take people on your journey. I think that's really critical.
I think we were talking about like, you know, C-level buy-in or VP
Yes,
buy-in, right?
yes.
And we were talking about how screaming from the rooftops sometimes is sort of the only way, right,
Yes,
to get back to
yes.
them about successes, right? How vocal or how collaborative is your organization in sharing those results? Do you do all hands like brown bags? Do you send out emails? How do you share successes?
I do, yeah. So usually when I have kind of a problem that I'm trying to solve, like how do we drive more conversion or how do we drive more clicks or whatever it is, I usually do like a session with Alyssa to kind of walk through this journey. And then I also always send a summary email that's very visual, that kind of is like the cliff notes of what this PowerPoint was, and I send that to the leadership team. Because a lot of the times we know that like our leaders are very busy, they don't have time to read, but when you send them like a beautiful, thoughtful email with clear screenshots of actual customer data, I've never met a leader that wasn't so excited about that, wanting to learn more, wanting to gauge, wanting others to do it. So show your work, do like the detailed PowerPoint so everyone can see how, all the great work you did, and then do that summary email to your leadership team, and it's really gonna shine for you, I promise.
I think part of that too is I think organizations that we talk to struggle to show the value of success as much as they do the value of when they don't succeed, the value of failure. How is taking that data, interpreting it, and then building into those results important? Are you doing a lot of your own like methodology and sharing that and translating that into like human speak, if you will?
Yes, I definitely try to make it so that anyone, no matter where you are in the organization, can completely follow and get buy-in on where we are. Since, as we kind of talked about, I'd never seen it as a quartet, by the way, and I absolutely love that, including marketing, because marketing tends to be where I personally kind of run in to kind of the most kind of struggles and buy-in and what are the things we should experiment and the impact that could have. So by being able to take all your stakeholders on your journey really helps them buy in, understand what you're doing, and kind of the direction that we want to all take together. All right, let's get tactical. Give me that, Jeff. All right, so now that you've done all this and everyone's really, really excited about the process and the data and how we can really be impactful, but now what do? Because now you're gonna have people from all over your organization coming to you. I wanna do this test. I'm interested in this problem. Can you help me with this? So what I found is that, the excitement is wonderful, but you also have to have a great way to intake all of those requests and then prioritize them, because you can't do everything at once. So this is a model that I use that's helped me think about it. So the first part is like the intake in the blue. So this is just using the examples that we walked through earlier, just to kind of understand, right? You want to understand the market. Is this US regional? What is the challenge we're trying to solve? What's your hypothesis? You always want to make sure you have like some type of thing that you think is going to happen, kind of based off all of the analytics and things that you've done. And then one thing that's often missed that I think is critical is having that primary metric. Because without that, it's very easy to get distracted on what you're trying to do. Because like on the Obama example, we're trying to drive clicks. That's our goal, right? How many people are gonna click that red button? That's our core KPI. So make sure that that's like consistent, that's what we're driving, that's what we're measuring, that's what we're gonna call success. And then always good to just have the requester, right? So you know where to track. So now, how do you prioritize this? So now you have people from all over your organization coming to you. This is the framework that I use. So I like to take kind of the impact, so taking the reach, the impact, and the urgency, and then dividing that by the cost to get a score, and then you can prioritize. So we'll just click through these pretty quick. But if you think about the examples that Jeff walked us through, so if we think about reach, right? Well, for the Obama campaign, they had one homepage that all their traffic is going to. So that reach is really, really high. Everyone that goes there is gonna see this page. So that's why this one's higher. Then when you think about the Brooks one, this is really people that are buying a shoe, adding 2 to their cart of the same SKU. So important, but not as much as all traffic. So that's why this one gets like a higher reach score. And then impact. What could this drive? Well, on the Obama campaign again, right? We have the single page where we're driving all traffic with a goal to sign up. So that's gonna drive the most impact versus kind of Brooks a little bit lower, because although we definitely care about reducing returns, return rates, stocking, all of those things, the main driver here is definitely going to be those signups for the Obama campaign. And then for date urgency, since we know things always run by date urgencies, by campaigns, by holidays, by whatever, that's gotta play into effect too, right? So now we know one's tied to a campaign versus holiday, and we have some more time. And then cost. So this one, I always work directly with my designers and engineers to have them help scope the cost, and that just helps them feel involved, feel included, feel like they have a say, they own their backlog, and it's just a good collaborative way to do it. So I've given the Obama one a higher design since I needed like 6 or 7 different layouts, or maybe in the Brooks I could use like modules of components that we already have. So easier from design. And then dev cost. For the Obama one, we're just swapping images and copy, pretty easy and straightforward. And then for the Brooks one, maybe I need something tied into customer support to make sure agents are available, so this one might be a little bit more complicated. So then when you add it together, when you add the impact divided by the cost, you get a score. And so I like models like this because then it kind of reduces the issue of people coming to you saying like, Alyssa, when are you doing my test? Or why are you doing that test instead of this test? And I'm like, cool, let's go back to kind of the model and here's why. And if you disagree with the numbers, we can talk about it. But this is a really good framework that works for me because now you're following the original cycle and you're going through, you're engaging, you're getting all the analytics, you're experimenting, and everyone's so excited. And now you have like an organized way of taking intake, prioritizing, and managing. So now you have a product manager dream, right? You have prioritized features and a prioritized backlog. So
Now, I don't know about you, but all of my requests are the most important.
obviously,
right?
Jeff.
Obviously,
Yes,
the most
of
important.
course.
I am, of course, going to tell the truth about every metric that I put on
obviously,
there.
yes.
There's no bias and no disability. How do you
Yes.
govern the governance? How do you create a methodology and a consistency so that everybody views a 2 as a 2, right?
Gosh,
If we're
that's a
all
good
being measured the
question.
same way.
Yep.
And are you coming over top and reviewing those answers
I am.
when they come in? Okay.
Yes, yes, yes. I do ask that when people submit requests, they fill it out. And then if I disagree or feel that things could be shifted, I reach out to that person directly and then talk about kind of why they gave it that score, why I think it could be different, and using things as examples. So I showed 2 here because it makes it really easy to understand. Like if you just looked at Brooks in isolation, you might be like, I don't know if it's a 3. But when you see it next to like the Obama one, or where you start to kind of understand the full business problem scope, it becomes very clear why some may have more impact than others.
How do people submit this form in your organization? Is it PowerPoint? Is it an Excel?
Oh, no. I've had a bunch of different ways. Like the worst one is where you start with like an Excel. Like sometimes you just have to start somewhere. But I like to use, if you have any type of like work tracking system, so if you have like Azure DevOps, Jira, whatever you use to track work, I'd love to have like a template in there and people can submit it. So then at any point, anyone in your organization can go and see the full kind of backlog, the status of where things are, and have that conversation.
Nice. And do you provide like extra documentation around the form? So
Oh,
people-
yes.
Okay, good.
Yes. Good question. Yes. So when you start to roll out a process, there's always going to be pushback. No one wants to do extra work. No one wants to follow the process. So making it as simple and repeatable and transparent as you can is really helpful and critical.
Well, I think we should wrap up.
I think we should too. Oh, you're better at this than me.
No.
Oh, okay. So our last slide. So just in summary, we'll just wrap up kind of the fun journey we took you on today. So number 1, you have to have customer empathy and approach everything with that customer empathy. What's it like to be your customer? Are they doing this on one hand on their phone? Do they have a big monitor? What devices? What browsers? Like really understand what it's like for your customer to engage with your site, your product, whatever. And think about it holistically. And then use the tools. So don't just have access, really go deep. Spend time in the tools, go through it, play with it. What is it telling you? What can you learn? Go deep. And then, of course, bring your organization along, right? Show your work, explain your journey, walk them through it, show your thinking, talk about it, and you'll really get more buy-in from that on all levels of your organization. And then, of course, experiment, right? We want to validate the assumptions, get quick signal before we invest resources, which enables you to build with confidence, have that prioritized backlog we all want, and then also make sure you have a clear, transparent, repeatable process with all of the right things to keep this going in a cycle.
All right, one last question.
Oh.
One last question. All right, so we're doing a lot of time machines today, right? Very common theme, time machines. All right.
Yes.
You've recently built your organization pretty much from scratch. You've come in and started from scratch. Go back in time, talk to you on day 1, give her the best advice about the process and experience you just went through in order to make it better.
Oh my gosh, Jeff. I just think it's really about customer empathy and just understanding what it's like to be a customer and what it feels like, and really, really understand your business. What are the key KPIs and key things you're trying to solve, and how do those play together? And if you always stick to that, you're gonna be fine. That's really, it's always that, right? Like your leaders have the set priorities that they want to drive, and your customer has certain things that they want to do. So by aligning those things together, it's really a win-win. And so I think if I could tell little Alyssa, like, just remember that. Like, what did they show at your last all hands? What are the things that like your leaders are focusing on? What's the most important thing? And then what is the customer trying to do, and how do those connect? And I think if you always keep those in your mind, you'll be great.
That's awesome. All right, well, everybody, thank you very much for the opportunity to be up here on stage. Thanks to Content Square for the chance too. We'll see you guys around. Thank you.